Welcome to the David F Haas Podcast. I'm your host, David F Haas, flying solo. I got to start getting some guests into this podcast room. You guys are probably getting bored. For those of you that are listening to my lone voice solo. So again, hey, if you think you make a good podcast guest, then hit me up and we'll get you in here, even if we have to do it through Zoom. Whatever it may be, always looking for podcast guests. I always believe that everyone has something to share. Today's podcast is about connecting to our purpose, connecting to what is in the highest good for ourselves, for the world. And this seems like, when you say it out loud like that, it seems like it could be relatively easy to do. But in fact, it's extremely difficult. The reason being is we believe at an ego level that we have to make sure that all of our needs are met first. And then once we've made enough money, once we've found the perfect spouse, partner, once we have the kids in the family, then we can say, okay, well, what is it that I'm supposed to do? Or what is it, how can I give back? And the reality of the situation is that if we actually did the reverse, if we just focused on giving, we would be a lot further ahead than we are in this moment in our lives. But again, it's a very hard thing to do, to get connected to what is in the highest good. And one thing that I've come to realize is that whatever is in the highest good for all is also in the highest good for you. So for me, for example, if I have a wife and a kid, and I don't think that I'm going to get called to leave everything behind and go around the world without my wife and child and helping people heal, right? I just don't think that's going to be what's in the highest good for my family. So a higher power of your understanding, God, universe, whatever it is for you, is going to guide you towards what is in the highest good, not only for all, but also what is in the highest good for yourself. The problem being, like I say, is that we don't believe that. And this is something I've struggled with my entire life. The better part of the first third, if you want to call it, of my life was spent in getting mode, which was like, how can I get more money? How can I get more experiences? And now as I move into, even at midlife, I'd say here, assuming I'm going to live till like 90, but I'm planning on living a lot longer than that. At midlife, I'm beginning to feel the shift of getting out of the whole getting game. And this is like really hard to wrap your mind around, because the ego has been so programmed to just constantly get more. And it's not just about getting more money. It's about getting more love, getting more travel, getting more experiences. And you can just see how it's like a hamster spinning the wheel. And I can see how the next level of life for me is stepping out of that getting game, but there's just so much resistance to doing so. And that's what I'm struggling with. Now I'm in a good place. And I think probably this podcast will be a little bit of kind of my own personal, what I'm going through right now. And that's why I made the podcast, because I think it might help other people. I'm in a place right now where I'm faced with like two really major decisions. I have this amazing coaching business that's up and running, and it's ready to kind of go to the stratosphere. It's really where I feel I've spent the better part of the year creating my letting go school, and I can really see how I can just continuously put people through that course, have dramatic results for people, and also in the interim, I'm going to make a really great income doing what I love. And now, on the other hand, I have this amazing opportunity where my mentor and my good friend of mine are opening up a retreat center. And I was in a place where I was kind of thought I was just going to take the role of as an investor. But now it's come to me that I potentially will be running the whole entire show. And what I'm feeling is that I may have to give up the coaching to take on this role. I think they obviously will eventually merge together, because this will be a retreat center. We'll be able to host events and have people come. But there will be a delay in there of getting this place up and running and sustainable. And the resistance is gigantic inside of me. But I do believe that my coaching, where I'm heading is eventually to helping people heal at the deepest levels. I really see myself at some level eventually being able to say, whatever it is you're suffering from, come to me and I'm going to help you resolve it. So even at the most extreme level, which is like, if you have cancer, come to me and I'm gonna show you how you can heal, right? So this is something that's come to me in guidance, multiple times, which is to help people heal from cancer. My mentor always told a story about when he was in church and someone said, the preacher or whoever was up, who was giving a talk, and said, I want everyone in this room to stand up if they or a loved one has been affected by cancer, right? And the whole entire church stood up. And so at the core of my being, there's this this is what I want to help people overcome. Because the belief of cancer, we have it all wrong, that it's this disease that's out there and it's coming to get us. But through what I've learned, through the work I've done, is that, everything begins and ends in the body, and in the mind and the spirit. It's all about kind of what's going on in here. And the things that we hold in mind tend to manifest into our life. And if our body is responding to what is being held in mind, and what is being held in mind is responding to what is held in our consciousness, then if we're in low states of consciousness, you can see how it's going to create sickness. So I've said this to a lot of my one-on-one clients. It's like, if you continue to coach with me, I believe that you'll never, you'll live a long, healthy life. And so what I basically feel is my coaching was naturally going to progress that way, but it might have taken me 5 years. If I take on this role of running this retreat center, I'm kind of taking a leap, and I'm springboarding to what I'm being called to do and what is in the highest good. But I've done so much work on this hand to get my coaching to where it's ready to become this really amazing platform that I'm reluctant to let it go, because I can kind of see it all. Like, I can see where my coaching is going. I can see myself, making $1 million a year easily, coaching people. And when I first started coaching, I couldn't see that, right? Like, I couldn't see the full picture. But now, because of the act of doing, and if you've listened to other podcasts, it's like the how will be revealed by taking action. Because I've been taking action for the last year, I now see it. I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I can see how this thing is going to turn into a thing where I'm going to impact tons of people, and I'm going to make tons of money. It's going to be a nice balance. Plus, I'm going to have the life that I want to live, where I have the freedom to do the things that I want to do. I'm not tied to coaching clients one-on-one. I'm going to coach one-to-many. So I'm putting it all together. I'm like, okay, so I see it all. But then all of a sudden, I have this whole new wrench that's kind of thrown in here. And I need to make a decision. And I think this is where a lot of people have intuitively been in their life. And we have probably been given signs our entire life on what it is that we are supposed to do, how we are supposed to maximize our potential. But we say things to ourselves like, well, first I gotta do this. Once I start making this much money, once after my kids are in school, then I'm going to go and do that thing. And we just continue to put it off. And the other thing that blocks us is actually connecting to what it is that we are supposed to do. And we're blocked from all of the programs and belief systems and emotions that we're still holding on to. So going back to my own personal example, one of the programs that I had created for myself, a survival pattern, if you will, was the needing to become rich so that I would no longer feel the pain that I felt from, living in not such a nice house and driving not such nice cars as a kid, that shame that I felt. So by removing the clouds, I was able to see the light. And once I was able to deal with that shame that I felt as a kid, I no longer needed the program of having to get anything else. I was completely confident in my own skin, and I could let go of that drivenness, that wanting of more. And when I did that, my life completely transformed. Like I went from, never having enough to having more than I ever needed. Right. And so I could see that leap was gigantic. And, that is ultimately what I've been coaching people how to do, is to get out of wanting. So we first need to understand. So step one to getting connected to how to maximize our potential, how to get aligned what is in the highest good for us and the highest good for all, is we need to remove the clouds, right? The sun is always shining. I think I've said this in the last 3 podcasts. So if you're listening consecutively, I'm beating this into your head, but this is how we learn, is through repetition. So the sun is always shining, but we have created all of these clouds that are blocking our light. So we need to begin to identify what those clouds are so we can remove them. So we may think that what we're being called to do is be an entrepreneur, for example. But what is the reason behind that? And there's this great tool that I use in my coaching. It's in the Letting Go school. It's called 7 Levels Deep, and you could do this on your own right here. So if you're listening to the podcast, you're getting it for free. So the question 1 is like, what is it you want out of life? And, for me back in the day was, I want to be successful. I want to have $1 million. And then you keep asking the same question 7 times. So it's like, okay, well, why is it important for you to be successful in your life? Because I want to have freedom. Let's say that was my answer. And then you answer the next question with your answer from the previous question. So why is it important to have freedom in your life? And then you answer that, and then you keep doing that. You go all the way down 7 levels. And when you do that, you might get connected to what your true calling is and what you're really here to do. And when we fully connect to what it is that we're supposed to do, the support that we receive from the universe, from God, from our friends, our family, is ridiculous. It's like, it's never ending, because it calibrates high on the scale of consciousness. So if you were just to Google the map of consciousness, you'll see that desire calibrates at 125, which is below the critical level of 200, which is courage. And at that critical level of 200, your life completely transforms. Below 200, you are forcing everything. Everything is a struggle. Everything is a grind. You're hustling. You're working hard at everything. Life is tough. Above 200, life is easy. Life is smooth. Life is relaxed, stress-free. So when we're identifying with levels of consciousness that are below the level of 200, we are not getting any support. When we start identifying with our purpose and things that are above the level of 200, we get tons of support from the universe. Okay. So this is how I was able to take my coaching business from 0 to like making $150,000 a year, like really, really quickly. Right. And I've since kind of pulled back. Like I saw the model on one-on-one on how I could coach people and make $150,000 a year. But then I pulled back, being, okay, well, this is not the model that I wanted. I didn't want to be tied to my desk, to my computer, to in office meetings with people. I wanted the freedom that I've experienced for the last 3 or 4 years running my other business. So I just got aligned and said, what is it that I need? And then I got the support, and I took a course that showed me how to coach one-to-many. And so everything just continues to flow. There is no struggle. Okay. So this is why it's so important for us to clear the clouds. So step 1 is to get identified what it is that you truly want to do, what you've been called to do. And it's been reiterated to you several times, but you've ignored it because you got bills to pay, or because you're waiting to get started. I have a client, him and I, we're both writing books right now, and he's been called to write a book ever since the beginning of coaching with me, and there's still resistance, and he uses excuses, and he has survival patterns of perfectionism and all of these things that hold him back. But at the core, he's being called to write a children's book to help children, right? And so we need to remove the clouds. So number 1 is we need to become aware of the clouds, then we need to learn how to remove them, and that's through the process of letting go. The second thing is there's going to be resistance. Okay, so I'm a perfect example. It's like, I have my coaching business. It's ready to rock. It's ready to do $1 million in sales a year. I have this other opportunity that will probably make me less money, but will be in the higher good. So you can see the dilemma. It's like, but I know that if I go down this road, I'm going to get more support from the universe. I'm probably going to end up making 10 times what I might in coaching. And maybe it might not be monetarily, right? So then you need to let go of the need to have more money. Okay. So you see this dilemma, and this is what I'm trying to tune you into, is that we are all facing this dilemma every single day. Every day we're not living our full purpose, we're facing that dilemma. Now, the ones who really are able to achieve really great things in their lives are the people that have been able to recognize that there was a dilemma and choose to take the leap, right? So I was actually just listening to an interview with Tom Bilyeu with this woman that started this makeup line, and in like a 12-year period, she took this company from zero to an exit where she made $1.2 billion cash, like in her bank. And how did she do it? Well, she just took a leap. She quit her job. Both her and her husband both quit their jobs right from the get-go and said, we're doing this. And they took the leap. And was it scary? I'm sure it was. She talks about how she only had $1,000 left in her bank account at one point, but they made it happen. And it was because they had an innate calling to go and do something. And they just threw all their cards in and said, we're doing it, right? Despite all the fear and everything, they were able to push past it and take that leap. So tuning into what it is you want to do, tuning into the resistance to actually doing it, right? The resistance is you might not make as much money. The resistance is people are going to judge you. The resistance is it could be more difficult than what you're currently doing because what you're currently doing is comfortable. There's a ton of resistance, so start paying attention to what those resistances are. The third thing is start paying attention to the belief that you know better. The belief that you know better than God, for lack of a better term, than the universe. The universe has been telling you your whole entire life, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, and you've been ignoring. So let's start paying attention to that, and let's let go of this belief that I know better than this higher power, right? When we get aligned with the highest good, when we get connected to all, we're going to get all the support we need, and all of our needs are going to be met for eternity, okay? So letting go of the belief that we know better, which is about being humble. The next thing is to pay attention to what the payoffs are. What are the payoffs of staying where you are at? What are the payoffs of not moving forward? So like one of the payoffs I'm getting right now by resisting doing this is like kind of the anger I'm kind of feeling towards the way this business deal went down. And I recognize that in anger, there's fuel, right? And then I recognize in that anger is this wanting to be right? Refusing to come to the understanding that this is what's in the highest good, and tuning into the needing to hold on to that, right? So someone might present to you, hey, if you went and did this, you would be aligned with your purpose, and you may resist doing it because it wasn't your idea. Okay. So identifying what the payoffs are is really huge. But then the next step is trying to get through those payoffs and trying to let them go. It's really difficult to let go of the payoffs that we've been holding on to, and why we would choose to remain where we're at. So another payoff would be that we're comfortable, right? We're in a good spot. For me, if I'm looking at my own situation, I'm like, I got a great life. I'm coaching clients. I'm about to release this big program. I got another business that's running and doing well, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic. My wife's got a great business. We're making great money. Got a great kid. Live in a great spot. Don't feel like I'm forcing anything. If I did go to this new venture, all that changes, right? I go back to working 12 hours a day, building something from the ground up, right from ground zero. And there's resistance to leaving that, and that is the payoff that I'm holding on to by not following the guidance, is the comfort. Okay, so identifying what it is that what payoff we're getting from staying where we're at. And then the last thing that I want to leave you with is just tuning into really getting connected, right? So how do you do that? And I do it through meditation. Luckily, I do group coaching, and I have a great group of people around me that we can all ask for guidance together. So basically what we're doing when we're asking for guidance is we're just getting really quiet. We're trying to get away from all the noise. We're trying to get outside of the analytical mind. and we're trying to get connected to allness. So our consciousness is connected to all. It's connected to collective consciousness. It's connected to a higher power that's all-knowing, all-powerful, all-present. So if we can get into that space, into that field, we can get out of our analytical minds. And when we learn to do that, the highest good will be revealed to us. Now, whether we listen to that guidance or not is kind of what I talked about in the first 3 steps there, right? Which was to look at the payoffs, look at the resistance, remove the noise. So this is definitely one way to remove the noise and just get connected to what it is you're supposed to do here. And that answer sometimes will be revealed to you in like a second, right? So it's just the matter from that point forward, it's a matter of whether you're going to believe it or not. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm struggling with right now. And I thought because I was struggling with it, it would be a great podcast, because maybe this is something you've been struggling with. Maybe you have felt this higher calling for a long time, but have been refusing to take the leap. So hopefully this podcast allows you to become aware of why you're resisting it, what excuses you've come up with, what are the payoffs you're getting by staying where you're at, what are the fears, whatever it may be. And then when you do that, you can then take some time to get quiet, get to this place that's below the silence. Without the silence of the forest, we can't hear the tree fall, right? So from that silence is where we're going to get answers from this collective consciousness. So getting really connected. And then once you get the guidance, trusting it, right? And so even for me, I haven't done it yet because I'm resisting it, right? Because I kind of have a gut instinct that what I'm going to be told in guidance is to do the other thing. And so there's resistance to even just having the truth be revealed, because it might not be aligned with what it is that you feel you want to do, but there's a higher power that is telling you this is what you need to do. And you have to have faith and listen is ultimately what it comes down to. And you know what? Sometimes we don't listen, right? And if that's okay too, because eventually we will continue to be pushed in that direction, however it may be. Sometimes it's positive ways, sometimes it's negative ways. Okay. So, just trusting that you're always being pushed towards your maximum potential, whether you're ready to step into it or not, is fine. Eventually you're going to end up there in one way or another, or one lifetime or another. So yeah. That's it for today's podcast. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I hope it was insightful. It was kind of like on a whim. But I'm going to keep recording them, and give me some feedback. Let me know what you've been thinking. Let me know if there's any topics that you would like me to cover. I'm more than happy to do so. We'll see you again next week.